Welcome everybody back to Ultimate Mastery Insights. I am with Kimi Hall, and this is going to be, I think, a really powerful conversation, a deep and profound insight for all of us. Kimi is an amazing client, and when I heard her journey, when I came across her book, I felt a compelling need to share this and open up this conversation. So, Kimi, welcome. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm very excited to have this conversation. And you are the author of this beautiful book, amongst other books, and we'll talk more about that in a moment, A Mother's Journey. And even before we go into discussing this book, it's so beautifully illustrated. It's such an elegant and really important conversation. So I just want to acknowledge that before we even begin. Let's start with A Mother's Journey. And the subtitle of this is a story about how we became a family. And I'd love for you just to share a little bit about the book, about A Mother's Journey, the message that this book has.
Well, I've been struggling with infertility for the past 2.5, 3 years. And I decided to finally start going through IUI, the intrauterine insemination process. And I knew that this was going to be a process I was going to go through alone, and that I would have the questions, because a friend of mine went through IVF and she said, "You're going to get questions. Where's my daddy? What happened?" And so I knew I was going to have that conversation. And I was aware that there were some books on the market that sort of touched on this subject. So I started looking, and I was looking at the reviews, and there were a few books where there was some negative comments saying things like, "Oh, they showed that it went through the belly button," or "They didn't use a proper terminology," or "This doesn't even talk about the process at all." And I just thought, well, then maybe I'll just try to write my own. And so that's how the project started.
And it's such an important topic because you are not alone in this situation, and
Yeah.
this is not a unique situation to find people in, and yet it doesn't get the coverage that perhaps it deserves, and the sensitivity to the conversation needs a very nuanced approach to writing, which I think you have been able to achieve very successfully. How has the book been received?
Oh, anybody who understands the process loves it. I've had tears. I've had people just read it and just start crying in front of me. It's been quite lovely. It's just the difficulty that I've had is just that I'm an indie author. And so trying to get it into more hands, that's been the difficult journey. But it's now in 2 languages, English and Spanish. And so I'm trying to break into South America and get it into the clinics and see if I can spread it out.
Beautiful mission. And in relation to your mission, obviously, there's a really personal aspect to this story. It is a really personal journey. And I know you said that I read books and the information wasn't necessarily either accurate or perfectly represented. What was your motivation to dive into such a significant project?
Well, I want to be able to share this with my child. So I'm an author that if I don't have it existing in my world, I create it. So I saw that there was a niche in the market. There was something that needed to be made, because otherwise I would have bought it. I had my Amazon shopping cart full of books, but I wasn't impressed with any of them. And I just thought, why am I going to spend money on books that aren't really what I want? And so I had been dabbling with drawing the previous year as a growth mindset project, because I'm a teacher. And during the Easter break, I taught myself how to draw a certain style. And so when I got back to school, I had this whole lesson for the next term explaining to the children how you may not know how to do something, but as you try and you practice, you can get better and better at it. So I showed them my journey during that time. And so by the end of the term, the kids will be able to do the same drawing style as well. And so in that project, I started thinking, well, maybe I'll just come up with a coloring book. Now that project never got off its feet because there's still some book matter that I need to come up with other than just drawings. But that got me into the process of drawing, and in the manifesting stage that I was in and trying to, will my child to come to me, I was drawing lots of babies. And as a matter of fact, I came up with this, and this is my first cover. And I did this on my own. Now, I wasn't too impressed with my drawing of people at the time, but this is how it came to be. And so once I realized I want to create this book, I just did a bunch of random sketches and I put it together and I wrote a story. And then I looked for an illustrator, and that's how the project started.
You've extended beyond this project as well. You have other books, you have resources to give people an opportunity to expand their own knowledge base, their learning, their understanding. Again, to share this message, to get that message out there, but then to do this research and equip and resource people, it's a massive project. What continues to give you the inspiration and the energy to maintain the momentum for this journey?
I think it started with, unfortunately, with my infertility. I had an ectopic pregnancy, and that was absolutely devastating. And it was a moment in my life where I had to do something positive for myself. And at that point in time, I believe that was 2020, it was creating my nursery. So my nursery is stocked and full and ready to go. And that's all because I had to do something positive to keep me going through that time. So when I went through the first IUI, it was a failed one. I've had 3 failed IUIs so far. It was the book. I have to see it to completion. And then once that book was done, I was back to my drawing. And this time I had an iPad instead of the pencil and paper. And I would just start drawing images, and I go, well, this is a book. Let's name it and let's write a story. And so that's how my other 2 books came into existence. So first of all, some families came into existence because, again, I wanted a book that didn't exist in my eyes. I mean, I know now, having, turned into an author, that I've seen lots of books to sort of cover the subject, which is having different families around the world, multiculturalism and inclusion and representation available for children of all types of backgrounds. So, being a biracial person of color myself, I always wanted to see myself represented in the things that I saw. So be it TV or books, and movies. And so having a book that, has a single mother of color, or having a child, with a disability or with dwarfism, I want all children to feel that sense of representation and to feel valued when they look at a book. And so that's how that one started. And it's just what keeps me going. I think of what I want in my classroom. I'm a teacher, and I want to be able to teach children certain topics or certain values. I don't have a book for that. All right, let's make one.
And I think as we start to move towards the end of this conversation, I love the book, and everybody, the details are down below. You can click on the link for all of the books, and I encourage you to learn about this topic. But for those people who are already familiar with this topic and moving down this pathway and looking for solutions for their own personal desire to become a mother, to have a family, and to utilize methods that are creative, are outside the scope of what would be considered the usual pathways. What's your message to them? What options can you give them? What hope can you provide for them? And what insights about the journey you've had can pave the way for an easier journey for them?
That is a difficult question to answer. I will try my best, but I believe you need to have faith, and you need to have a positive outlook, because you will go through, I mean, not for everyone, but for my case, you're going to go through a lot of negative obstacles, things that'll stop you on your journey getting there. And it's about knowing that it's going to happen, It will happen. It's just a matter of when. And so plugging forward, you're going to find a way. Like IUI, I tried it and it didn't work out for me. And so now the next step is IVF. And some people will say, oh, it's too expensive, or I can't deal with the mental trauma from it. But you go at your own pace and you do what you can do. And if IUI is not it, if it's not IVF, if it's not surrogacy, if it's not adoption, fostering, whatever it is, you will find where you're supposed to end up at.
You're inspiring so many people I know, and the courage to step into the arena, to have these conversations, to elevate the conversation and allow people who may have felt that they cannot share or have conversations or pursue a vision they have for their life because they have uncertainty, doubt, or fear. You give them hope. You provide education, information, and insight. And I think it is a truly honorable thing, which is why I was so excited to have this conversation and to share this conversation and this message. And as the last question, for those people who have a journey in front of them where they are inspired to do things as you have been, where they are wanting to make a difference and an impact as you are doing, what's your message to those people, as to either not just writing a book or educating their community or doing something of significance? How does somebody who has a message to share, who has a bold and courageous pathway to follow, actually access the resources within them to step forward and make that impact in the world?
The first step is to believe your message. The next step is to find someone and speak to them about it. It all is tiny steps. And once you gain that strength and that confidence in your message and in the ability to tell people, then I believe the universe will open up the options and the journeys of how to get that message out, because it's something that you truly believe in. So
Beautiful. And there is so much great things that happen in the world from the people who take the courage to share their message. You have done that so elegantly and beautifully with this book and with the vulnerability of sharing your story. I thank you. I appreciate you. Grab the book. Let's support those serving a better world. Thank you.